What's up, rookies? Welcome to the Retired Rookies podcast, where we sit down with former athletes who have successfully transitioned and are thriving in their secondary careers. Today, we have a very, very special guest. This gentleman was a two-sport athlete at the University of Buffalo from 2016 to 2021. Um, Went on to earn his master's degree at the University of Alabama in human environmental science. He is the founder of Spark Coaching and author of a book called Second Act. Um, Dominic Johnson, how we doing, brother?
Good, really good, brother. Really good. Excited to be here. And you know, you came on the podcast at camp and just are a supernatural. And obviously, we played against each other too at Buffalo, which is really cool. Or when I was at Buffalo and you were at Western. And yeah, I could just tell you're going to be really good at this. So I'm kind of excited to see where this goes. And I feel really humbled that I'm the first episode. So I'm really excited to be here.
No, I appreciate you, bro, and I appreciate the you inviting me out to do that at your camp. Like that was my first time being I guess having a speaking engagement. So that was that was awesome, bro. That was something that I'm never gonna forget. And yeah, I mean I look forward to continue to working with you. Like you're great at what you do. You're you're a leader in the community, so I'm excited. I'm excited to call you an acquaintance, friend, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, no, I'm honored to have you on the podcast, bro.
Let's go. Let's run it.
So let's just jump right into it. What was it like being a two sport athlete at the D1 level? Like we talk about the demands, just being one sport, but two sports and especially football and basketball, those are extremely demanding. So I guess just tell us a little bit about that experience.
Um, it was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was like one of the coolest things I've ever done for sure.
Hmm.
Um, I honestly wasn't even supposed to play two sports. I was getting recruited by both teams a little bit, but I wasn't really big enough to be a big on the basketball team, and I wasn't really fast enough to be a guard. So, but the football team just kept on recruiting me, so I committed there to play quarterback. And then the basketball team had a lot of injuries my second year, and the coach was like, "We recruited you a little bit. Do you want to come like walk on and practice?" And like it could lead to something. And I was like, I'm not playing at on the football team. I'm kind of like third, fourth string. So then I started doing it, and ever since then, it was just a blessing. Honestly, my memories from the basketball team, even though that wasn't my main sport or like my scholarship sport, ended up being, better than my football memories. So
Really?
yeah, it was incredible. We had some really good teams, and we had a really good coach, like one of the best coaches in the country now.
Yeah.
So it was like a really cool experience, but it was also really hard too. Like, I didn't really get to do like football off season came and all my boys on the football team got to go out to parties and stuff. And like
Hmm.
I was, running basketball, practice on like the day after Christmas. And
Yeah.
basketball season ends and all my boys in the spring get to like chill and catch up on their schoolwork from the past year. And I'm like right back into like spring football practice
Hmm.
and the lifts are different. I just remember like, shin splints from the basketball court, trying to go back on the turf and, uh, you know, doing early morning mat drills with the football team at 5 a.m. and then having basketball practice and then shoot around and school. It was a lot for sure. Like I didn't really have a lot of balance, but I think like I don't regret it at all. Like some of those experiences shaped me and my work ethic. And it was fun. It was something that not a lot of people can say that they did, but my body definitely feels it from that time. So,
I bet. I bet. I bet.
yeah, yeah.
So I know you mentioned that like you weren't playing early on in your college career, and then went on to play with the basketball team. What was your plan when you were playing though? Was the goal still I'm going to play professionally somehow, some way?
On the basketball, you're saying?
Either one, like was the goal ever I'm going to play professionally?
I think basketball. Um, I didn't really know at the
Mhm.
time.
Mhm.
I kind of have I don't want to say I have regrets, but I kind of look back now and I realize like, damn, like I was actually better at basketball than I was at football. But I was trying to chase football though. Like I
Mhm.
was trying to force myself to find a way to play. And looking back, I was never going to actually start at quarterback at University at Buffalo.
Mhm.
Um, Whether it was like the guys ahead of me were better than me, or like politics in the QB room, like the coach that recruited me as the quarter, he was the quarterback coach and he was offensive coordinator. After my first year, he ended up changing to running backs, and they brought in a new coach.
Mhm.
And um, so I just looking back, I realized like if I wanted to actually play at quarterback, I needed to transfer to a different school to where the
Mhm.
coaches like really loved me and they wanted me to play there.
Mhm.
So in my head, my dream was I wanted to be a pro quarterback.
Mhm.
Later on in my career, I ended up changing positions to receiver, and that's when I actually got to play, and that was where I got to actually, have a chance at playing pro. So I got drafted to the CFL, and like coaches wanted me because I'm tall, I'm big, I could play tight end or receiver, whatever. But like I didn't really want to play receiver or tight end. I really wanted to play
Mhm.
QB.
Mhm.
Basketball, I never really even thought it was possible. Like looking back, I had more opportunities. I had more scholarship letters for basketball in high school, but I was always like, I don't know if I can make it to the NBA. You know what I mean? I'm not like some crazy hooper. I'm just like, 6'6" and can shoot, and that's about it. So, and I didn't really have a lot of offers for basketball. So, yeah, I guess my plan was to like I wanted to play pro as a quarterback, and when that didn't pan out, it was either transfer or like stay there and just try to figure it out until I finished my school. And what really stopped me from transferring was not finishing my degree. My mom said, like she wasn't playing around. She's like, "You're finishing your degree."
Yeah.
And so I need to make sure I finish my degree. So that's kind of what stopped me from transferring. And then right when I was about to transfer, Oates called me on the basketball team, was like, "Hey, do you want to play?" And I was like, "I love basketball. Like, you know, football season's still going on, and I'm still hooping in the gym like on
Oh,
off days and stuff." So I hope that answers your question. I kind of got ranting, but
no,
yeah,
no, no, it did. It did. It did. So whenever you decided like, okay, I'm not going to pursue professional football or professional basketball like that. How long did you play in the CFL?
I didn't even play in the CFL.
Okay.
So my fifth year was during COVID. So the
Mm-hmm.
COVID, there's no fans. By that time, I was just all in on football.
Mm-hmm.
I played basketball for 3 years. 2 of the years we won championships. The third year I was on the bench because I was injured.
Mm-hmm.
And then my fifth year comes around for football. I'm finally starting. I'm playing receiver though, and COVID happens, so they gave us the extra COVID year to come back. So I was one of the ones that came back for a 6 year college, and I'm old as hell,
Yeah.
Uh, but it was cool because I got to get a master's degree from it.
Yep.
I got to get another master or another degree. But the year before at the end of my fifth year,
Mm-hmm.
I came home and I was like, I was telling my mom, I'm like, I think I want to be done. And I think I'm ready to be done. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe teaching, maybe coaching. And I didn't really know what to do, honestly. But I was going through like severe depression. I had two like damn near season-ending knee surgeries. Like been through a lot of injuries, and I just was like, receiver was not it for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a challenging career, and I was just thinking, I'm like, I think I'm ready to be done. And yeah, like I met this girl during this time, and like my eyes opened to like some of the messed up stuff in the world, and I was like, what, I think I'm ready to be done being an athlete. I feel like I'm just kind of performing for other people's entertainment,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm ready to start like doing something where I'm helping people in some way. And then my coach calls me, and I told him like what I want to do. I kind of am ready to be done. I kind of want to get into coaching maybe. And he says, no, I think you should come back. I think you have a real good chance at like playing pro. And I told him, I said, so do you think I could play play pro as a receiver, or you think I have to be a tight end? Because I'm not really trying to be in the trenches, like breaking my neck every play.
Mm.
And he says, I think you'll be closer to the ball. I don't know about tight end, but I think you'll be closer to the ball. So I go back to school, and coaches are saying, like, hey, we think you should come back. You're going to be a leader. This could be a great 6 year for you. You know, you might get drafted to the CFL. Who knows about the NFL, whatever. And long story short, I come back, have a great spring. My coaches leave to Kansas.
Uh,
And with like 3 months left before the season, we have no coach, and I already made the decision to come back. So it was really tough. If you talk to guys on that football team that 6 year, for guys that stayed all those 6 years, it was really tough because we had that same coach for 5 years, and then he left right before our final year. So
yeah.
I'm at school now, and I realized like I gotta do this for my guys, and I gotta see how far I can take it. I played the rest of the year. It was rough. I had some more injuries. End of my 6th year, I get back, same exact spot. You know, back at home,
Yep.
$47 in my bank account.
Yep.
You know, the game just sucked the life out of me, and I just was like having the exact same thought. I'm ready to be done. Like it doesn't. I'm not even going to do a pro day for football. You have pro days before like combine and stuff.
Yep.
I'm like I'm not even going to do a pro day, a combine. I'm ready to be done right there. So I told my mom, and I told my coach from the CFL. They drafted me, and I told them like I'm not playing. Like, you know, I'm done my career right there. So for the first year, I kind of like denied the call. I had this like calling, like, yo, you should do something else. It's time to be done. But I kind of like denied that and was like, I'm gonna do things my way. And then a year later, I'm back in the same exact spot. You know, that call is telling me like, no, bro, like it's time to be done. So I ended it right there.
Man, I can relate to that story in so many ways. Like I tell people about my experience when I went pro. Like I knew I didn't want to play pro for as long as I thought I did my rookie year. Like I knew right away. I was like, this isn't what I thought it was gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't what I expected, and so I started looking for different avenues as soon as my rookie year, started. So I
Got
can
you.
relate to that in a lot of ways, bro. So how difficult was that when you decided, like, all right, I'm really done. I need to figure out what's next. Just kind of walk me through that process and just kind of the emotions and just kind of how that transition was.
Man, I think very hard. Hardest thing I've ever done, ever. Um, and I made that decision, right? And it took a lot of courage to make that decision. And I had no clue. I'm at home, 2 degrees, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm back home right now, and like, what do I do? So I started applying for like teaching jobs and like substitute teaching. I'm like, okay, I got a psychology undergrad and an education master, so I got to start teaching somehow. And I started teaching, and I'm like, oh, I have a degree, like I should be good, like
Hmm.
and I was an athlete, so I'll apply, and of course they'll give me a job.
Hmm.
And I'm like getting turned down. Like people aren't even like looking at my stuff, and I'm like, damn, like this is how the world is. Like
Yeah.
so, I texted my coach on Christmas, my basketball coach, and he said, "What are you doing right now?" He said, "I appreciate you. Like Merry Christmas. What are you doing right now?" I said, "I'm looking for jobs." And he said, "Like we just had a guy leave to go work in the NBA, and we need this to fill the spot." And I'm like, "When are you trying to fill it?" He said, "Like ideally, like next week." So boom, 6 days later, I packed up my whole car, my rusty Nissan. I packed it up, all my stuff from college,
Hmm.
and I'm like, bet. I went down 13-hour drive to Alabama, and I started getting into coaching. And on the outside, everybody's like, "Man, Dom, you're coaching at like, such a good school. You guys are winning, SEC champions. You know, coaches pumping out NBA players. Like, man, like you're living good." And like, don't get me wrong, amazing experience. Like, I'm around some of the best athletes in the world, coaches, elite. Like, I'm learning all these things because he knows me and he coached me. He's letting me come to like recruiting dinners and like do like other stuff that a regular GA wouldn't do, right? but inside, bro, I'm depressed, bro. I'm so depressed. I'm feeling like I'm on the sidelines. You know, like when you're an athlete, you're on the court, you're having fun, you're performing, people are looking at you like you work so hard to get here, and everybody's there to support you. You know, like you got your athletic trainer supporting you, you got your trainer supporting you, your parents are supporting you, your coach is making sure you're performing. Everybody's there supporting you. And I got to Alabama and I realized like my whole job was no longer about people supporting me. It was about me being a small piece to supporting the guys. And and I just I you start to get into those like office dynamics, right? Now you're working for people. Now you're at the bottom of the food chain. People are telling you what to do. You're not making that much money, right? I'm a GA. I'm making GA money, but I'm working like longer hours than I ever did. I'm up at 4 a.m. I'm in bed by 10 p.m. You know, I'm doing nothing but working all the time, traveling. You know, I'm super tired. I'm drained, and I'm like, this can't be it, bro. Like, there's no way. I gotta like, I work so hard to be an athlete, and like, and it was all for nothing, you know. And now I got to start the bottom of this hill, and I got to like work my way up this ladder slowly, and then maybe I'll be able to become a head coach, and maybe I'll be able to touch $1 million contract as a coach by the time I'm 40, 45. I'm 25. That's 20 years I got to wait.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way this is it, bro. And like at the end of my career, I started studying entrepreneurship a little bit. I started listening to like real estate podcasts and started reading like Rich Dad Poor Dad, like reading some books. I started getting into books a little bit. And some of the TikTok videos I was watching, I'm like, oh, there's like kids that are like my age that are making millions of dollars. And they're not working all these hours, and people aren't telling them what to do all the time and treating them like honestly like a slave.
Hmm.
And I mean, I'm like, I loved Alabama, and coaches never like this, but like, I'm in Alabama, you know what I'm saying? So, and don't get me wrong, the team never liked that. The school, like, nobody's ever liked that. But it's just
Yeah.
like, just from what I was doing, how I was feeling at the time, like I felt like kind of like I was useless, you know, and like nobody cared about me anymore. Like, you're on your own now, bro. Like, figure it
Hmm.
out. And yeah, bro, I felt pissed, man. I was like nobody prepared me for this.
Yeah.
Nobody prepared me for this. 2 degrees, you know, all this schoolwork, all these things that are there to support you in college, but nobody's preparing you for what to do next. Like nobody's preparing you for the pain that you're going to go through
Yep.
mentally in like in your environment, like in your career.
Yep.
So I was like I was hurt, I was depressed, I was down, and I was pissed off, and I started looking for solutions. I was like, there's no way I got to start finding solutions. And that started to take me on a whole other journey.
Hmm.
So I hope that answers your question. I was
No,
talking a lot right there.
no, I appreciate you sharing, bro, because it's important, and I I felt the same way, and that's part of the reason why I wanted to create this platform, and so we could have these conversations because um, I would go to people in my family and things like that, or friends, but if you never experienced it, it's hard to relate. You know, it's like, well, why don't you just I don't just go get a job, like go work. And it's like, yeah, that's the easy part. Like I could go get a job, but I'm wired a certain way. And if you don't understand it, if you don't get it, then you just don't get it. So
Mm-hmm.
um no, I appreciate you sharing that because it's important. So once you started looking for solutions and things like that, is that kind of when life coaching came about and you started to dip your toes into entrepreneurship? Was that your first experience?
Yeah. So, well, life coaching a little bit separate than entrepreneurship, but both is when I started to like look for solutions, right? So, um, I wasn't making that much money in Alabama, so I started thinking about like, what is a way that I can start making a little bit of money and maybe start to like give myself like a little bit of a cushion. So like if I wanted to transition out of here, I have a little bit of savings to help me. So I started like taking cutting hair a little bit more serious. And then I started to cut some guys on the team, and then I started to cut more guys like on campus, like managers and like friends and friends of managers and stuff like that. So I started to make a little bit of money cutting hair in my free time as a GA because I was living in the gym. You know what I mean? I'm living at the facility. So that was kind of my first thing on entrepreneurship and seeing how like a business work. You know, that you provide a service, people pay you for it. You don't need a whole like huge setup. You just need something that people want that they're willing to pay for, and you need to put yourself in an environment where not many people have that thing where you're at. Some people call it a blue ocean, and then you need to just show up consistently and be good, and then people will pay you, and then you can raise your prices, do all these kinds of things. So that's kind of where I started doing the entrepreneurship thing. But yes, when I started looking for answers, I was reading books like while all the coaches were like, you know, after the workday, they would like go home, watch basketball, chill with their wives, like go out to drink. Like I would stay back and I would like read books and I would like watch YouTube videos. And I'll never forget her. I came across this life coach on YouTube. His name's Jim Ron, super successful speaker. And I'm listening to him speak 3 hour seminar, and I'm listening to him and changed my life right there. I'm watching this speaker and I'm relating to everything. This guy's saying he's 25, he's broke, you know, he thought he did the right thing, but he realized he was on the wrong path. And I was like, man. And then he starts teaching about money. He starts teaching about like how to become successful. He starts teaching about what he learned from his mentors. And I was like, damn. And I started to apply some of the stuff that he was teaching me and that I was reading from the books to my life. And I started to save more money. Like my life started to get better. My mental health, my challenges that I was having with my transition started to get a little bit better. I started to like learn about investing a little bit. I read oh gosh, Richest Man in Babylon, and I started learning about like invest a little bit and taking that haircut money and not just wasting it, like in like buying books with it and buying stocks, like learning about stocks and Dogecoin and whatever, like learning about like different things to put the money into. And that's when I found life coaching, and I realized like it wasn't just him; it was like Brian Tracy and John Maxwell, Tony Robbins, like these other guys that are life coaches. And I realized like I want to do that because that changed my life, genuinely changed my life. And I don't want to just like work a job. I want to do something where I feel like I'm actually helping somebody, and I want to get paid well while I'm doing it. And I'm looking at these guys' net worths, like Jim Rohn's like 300 million, Tony Robbins like 500 million. I'm like, this is scalable. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Being a coach and being an employee forever, I learned in Rich Dad Poor Dad, like that's not scalable. You know what I mean? You eventually have to own a business. You have to invest. You know what I mean? You got to own real estate. You got to own assets because income always follows assets. And I realized I was never going to create wealth for my family if I was just working for somebody else for the rest of my life. And the way that I felt that I was wired to do business and to go down that path was life coaching because it fit my skill sets and it fit my educational background and the things I was really passionate about and the thing that really changed my life. So that's kind of where I found that. And now, you know, I got opportunities to coach after. Like you GA for 2 years, and at the end of the second year, you got to make a decision. Are you going to stay in college? Are you going to pursue coaching in the NBA? Are you going to start over at the bottom, but like in the NBA? Or are you going to take what you learn and try to become like a head basketball coach at the high school level or something like that, right? You got to make a decision. And me, I had some really cool opportunities that if I still loved coaching basketball, I would have been stupid to turn down. But I knew I wanted to be a life coach. So ever since that moment, it was like, nope, I know what I'm doing. Like I found my purpose. I saw the vision. Like I'm locked in. Like that's what I'm doing. So that's kind of where it's been ever since.
Yeah, yeah. So, who were some of the type of clients that you were working with when you first started life coaching?
When I first started life coaching, what I would do is I started to learn about it and read about it when I was still at Alabama.
Hmm.
So what I would do was when I was giving guys haircuts, I would start practicing the things, and they wouldn't even know that I was practicing it. You know what I mean? Because all life coaching is it's just a way to ask questions. They use neuro linguistic programming, which is like neuro, and then linguistic, which is words. And with those two things, you can like reprogram the way you think, and by asking specific questions, you can reprogram the way somebody else thinks. So when I was cutting their hair, I would ask them questions about what they're going through, and some of the guys, like majority of the guys, they would open up. You know what I mean? Like we were going through some challenging times at Alabama. Like we had a guy, get charged with capital murder
Oh,
during that time, and you know, like there was a whole like conspiracy about like did Brandon drive the guy with the gun to the car? So like we were going through a really stressful time, and the guys would open up to me about it, and I was helping them with some of these challenges, things that are going on. Some guys weren't playing the right minutes. There's a whole bunch of stresses you go through on a team,
mhm.
and I was just cutting their hair, and they wanted a haircut, but I started to do that, and then but I wasn't that good though. I was at the beginning, and then when I left college basketball, I was working with guys that were homeless in the south and west sides of Chicago. That was like my first contract
Mhm.
as a life coach. I was working with guys from the south and west side of Chicago, and that was tough. That was very tough because these guys are like it's like transition, like former athletes that are going to transition are dealing with a lot of depression. But we still know how to work though. We're still driven. We're gonna figure it out. Like these
Yeah.
guys are like they're at the bottom. They're really going through challenges, and a lot of them have addictions to something that's keeping them there.
Mhm.
Gambling, meth, different drugs, alcohol, um, anger issues, whatever it is. So it's like, it wasn't easy, but I was like, I'm going to figure this out. I want the hardest clients to work with because it's going to make me better. And yeah, and then slowly I started to get former athletes that wanted to land jobs, like land better jobs after their career. And I would take, because ultimately what I was doing with the guys that were homeless was I was helping them land jobs, right? The first most important thing is let's look at your resume, let's see where you're at, let's understand your skills, let's figure out like what your gift is and what maybe is something that you're good at that other people aren't good at. Put that in your resume, find jobs that align with your skills, and then help you land that job within a certain amount of time. At the nonprofit that I was at most of the time, we had 45 days to land them a job. Like we had to land them a job within 45 days. And if they weren't able to do it, then they had to move out of the house. So it was stressful on the coach because we had to really help this guy who's not motivated and struggling to land a job within 45 days. So I got pretty good at helping somebody land a job within 45 days. And in today's market, that's a pretty valuable skill because shit's changing. AI is taking people's jobs. It's not easy, right? So
Yeah.
then people started to call me and ask me, like, yo, Dom, like, I'm working this shitty job right now in sales. I'm selling like whatever he was selling. I think it was like weed products, or he was like working at a weed company. He's like, dude, I hate it. I want to find something that I love. Like, how can I transition to something that I love? And just helping athletes transition from the shitty 9 to 5 job to like a job that they love like a little bit better, that pays them a little bit better. So I started to do that a little bit more, and then I started getting to speaking, and then now it's like, working with more athletes, younger high school athletes, more former athletes. So
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
was a process.
Yeah. Yeah. What were some of the things that you found while working with athletes? What were some of the biggest challenges that they were facing? Because you have an interesting perspective where you went through it yourself, but you also have helped people come from that place. So what were some of the biggest things that you've noticed while working with some of them?
Um, Former athletes, you're saying?
Yeah, former athletes.
I mean, we're former athletes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like a lot of the stuff, like the things that we go through, right? So status is a big one. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When you're an athlete, you have status.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of things boil back down to status.
Mhm.
So why do we want money? We want more money because money's going to give us more status.
Yeah.
Why do we want a more fit body? We want a more fit body because we want to have more status. Why do we want more followers and more fans and to be on the stage with the bright lights in front of people? Because we want to have status. So we when we're not an athlete anymore and we're used to everybody loving us, we're used to having that status. And when we're at the bottom and we're working a 9 to 5 and we're just like trying to fit in like everybody else, like Mr. Incredible sitting in the office and like the boss is bossing him around, and he's
Mhm.
working with this old lady. You know what I mean? It's like you don't feel like a superhero anymore. When you're an athlete, you're like a superhero. People want
Mhm.
your autograph and all this type of stuff. So status. Athletes lose their status. And when you lose your status, it hurts you in a lot of ways. And um, then the back end problems come from the pain that comes from losing your status.
Mhm.
You don't have purpose, right? That's another big thing. Is athletes, a lot of athletes don't know what to do after they're done. They don't know, and um, a lot of it, I think, like you need to go through a healing process. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Some athletes played their sport because that's what they loved,
Mhm.
and other athletes played their sport because um, they were in pain and they said, "I want to show you, that I can become successful." So I think for me, I had a really abusive childhood, and I had to go through a healing process where I had to learn how to love myself because I realized, I was trying to prove people and I was trying to make it and become successful and do all these things to try to get love from the outside world. And I think a lot of athletes, they go through that. You need to go through a healing process. And if you don't go through that healing process, even though you're done being an athlete, you'll still be training like you're an athlete. You'll still be eating like you're an athlete. You'll still be trying to chase success through any possible way you can get your hands on because those things determine our value. Those things determine our love, not internally loving ourselves first. So that is another big challenge I think athletes go through is learning to like not need the outside validation and have it from within. And it's a paradox because once you start to have it from within, then you start to get more of it from the outside world, like as within, so without. So, but yeah, like a big part of like my book was like how to find your purpose, because I truly 100 wholeheartedly believe like God put a gift inside every single human, and it doesn't matter if you're an athlete or not an athlete. Every single human has a gift, something that's given to them that they don't need to fight for. They don't need to, work super hard for. It's something that they do a little bit naturally. And you just need to work on that thing, develop that thing. And then, in my opinion, you need to turn that thing into a business so that you can work for yourself. And then, but the first thing, is you need to find that thing. You need to find your purpose. You need to get clear on your vision, and then the business is like the second part, which I'm still working on, like building right now, as we know. But like you got to first find that thing, because if you don't have that thing, I watched my dad go into this struggle, and this is kind of why I started this, because if you don't find that thing, then you will start to become depressed, then you will start to just settle, then you will start to develop bad eating habits. A lot of things, problems and issues and disorders develop from a lack of purpose and then just settling and being a sheep like a lot of other people.
Mhm.
So it's like we got to find that thing after we're done being an athlete. Once you find that thing, it doesn't matter how hard it gets. It doesn't matter, how early you have to wake up. It doesn't matter how many books you have to read. It doesn't matter how painful it looks on the outside. None of that matters because you know that thing. You know where you're going. You know what your vision is. And that's why I'm just so passionate about it because it didn't like for like in your case, for example, it didn't matter how many shots you had to get up. It didn't matter how many like how hard you had to work. Like you were willing to do whatever it takes to make it because you knew since a young age, you probably put the NBA guys on the wall and you knew you had your vision like, I want to play in the NBA. That's my dream. And in the Bible, I'm not a huge Bible guy, but like it says, without a vision, the people perish.
Mm.
So you got to have a vision, and you got to have that purpose. And I believe that for me, it didn't come until I started looking for it. And I don't know, I might turn to a preacher, but like they
I
say,
was gonna
you
say
seek,
you preaching right now.
you
You
seek,
preaching.
and you shall find. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So for me, I started looking. I'm like, I'm looking for solutions, and I found the solution.
Mhm.
So I just think like you need the drive to look. So yeah, some of the stuff turns back to the Bible, but I swear, like you know, I'm not like a crazy like preacher or anything like that. But just some things, they're just like they're true. So
Hey, I'm all for it, bro. I'm all
yeah,
for it. Um, so okay, so you had your experience with the nonprofit and kind of got your feet wet with life coaching and building those skill set. Tell me a little bit about how Spark Coaching came about and how you because essentially you just decided to do this on your own and that was kind of how Spark Coaching came about, correct?
yes. I actually started it while I was still in Chicago,
Hmm.
and it it changed my life at first when I was in Alabama and I was
Hmm.
learning about it. I started to do it with the guys as haircuts. I wasn't good.
Hmm.
During my time in Chicago, I started taking it to another level. Like I was making more money in Chicago because I'm in the next level now.
Hmm.
I'm making more money, and I'm part time working with these guys. So I'm working a quarter of the time that I was working at Alabama, and I'm making three times as much money. So now I have more money to invest and like get certified and join a mastermind group and get more books. So I'm like I'm gonna lock in to learn more, and I started changing my life even more. The guys that I was working with didn't necessarily see some of the changes that I was seeing
Hmm.
because this is a skill that I learned that one, it's super easy to learn, but two, it doesn't help people who are dysfunctional get back to functional. That's what a therapist does. So a therapist takes somebody who's dysfunctional, who's going through a really hard time, maybe depression or something like that, or disorder, and they help them get back to just like a functional member of society place. What life coaching does is it helps somebody who's already functional get to the next level. And I realized quickly that um, the homeless population was not the population that I wanted to do this with. I'm an athlete. Everybody I know that is an athlete. All the people older than me that I know are athletes. All the people younger than me that I know are athletes. I want to do this with athletes because it would genuinely change their life, and not many people are doing it. So I was like, I want to try to find a way to do this with athletes. So I started Spark November 6th, 2023, and um, there's so much things I would have done better and different, bro. Like looking back at it, I'm like, I should have done what I did as a barber. Like I didn't have a logo, I didn't have a website, I didn't have anything. It was just like go deliver the service and ask for money and just get your first clients. I wish I
Hmm.
would have done that, but I did it wrong. I made a logo and I made an Instagram page and I made a website and I did all these other things instead of just focus on like finding the clients and delivering the service.
Hmm.
So really tough year. Lost a lot of money at the beginning. Invested so much into it. Kept losing money, and I realized that I was never going to get. I never got anywhere by being 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Like I'm part time on my job, and I'm using it for safety, but like I'm kind of dipping my toes in with Spark. So I realized like I needed to go all in, and left Chicago, came home, and been just full time on this ever since. And then I don't know if you read the book The Alchemist, but like that book,
I
man,
have.
like you have.
I have. Yep.
Oh my gosh, bro, the gold is at home. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? The gold was at home for me. So ever since like I came home, like, and I've been like living in Detroit and New York and other places, but like the gold has been at home for me. Like I've been able to like get full time work, like finally get clients to pay me consistently, finally run some events that are like doing well, and it's just finally in a place where I feel like I'm doing this now. So it was super hard. It was the hardest thing. The first 2 years was the hardest thing I ever did. And yeah, I hope that answers your question. But
It does, and
yeah,
it made me think of a question that I've been kind of thinking about a lot lately. Do you think athletes are wired to be entrepreneurs or business owners?
I think most of them are. I think most of them are. We're definitely wired to shine, 100%. Whether that is an entrepreneur, whether that is some type of creative,
Mm,
whether that is an artist, you know what I
yeah.
mean? I think we're athletes and we're used to performing.
Hmm.
We're used to preparing and performing and growing. And I think that we're not wired to be robots. We're not wired to be a cog in a machine. In order to be a good athlete, we had to go above and beyond from what most people did. And we've done that our whole lives, whether it was at recess, whether it was after school, whether it was, in winter break, whatever. We've always gone above and beyond. We've always worked harder than most other people. We've always had to be creative and have our own style and play and learn from other people that have done it before us. That's what you have to do as an entrepreneur. You have to um, be unique. You have to take risks. You have to, like, if you're an entrepreneur, you're deciding I'm going to live in the arena instead of on the sidelines. That's what you're deciding. If you want to, I have friends that like former athletes. Like, not every athlete. I think first of all, I think entrepreneurship is something that no matter what you choose to do, it will touch your life. So
Hmm.
my friend wants to be a chef. He's
Hmm.
starting his chef business. An entrepreneur, just because you're a cook, that's your skill, but you will have to learn the like business. My other friend is making movies. He realized he wants to make movies. He's out in Hollywood now. He's learning the whole thing. Not Hollywood, but Orange County. And like, you will have to learn the business side of movies, whether it's a nonprofit or whatever. You have to learn how to generate income. And so I think entrepreneurship will touch you in whatever you choose to do. But I think the most important thing is you need to do something that is creative.
Yeah.
I think you need to do something that is creative and then learn the business of that so that you can create financial freedom for yourself. That's what I think. And I think athletes, perfect community to do it because we know how to work. We know how to never give up. We know how to deal with failure and rejection. And if you're an entrepreneur, you're going to deal with a ton of it, like a ton of it. But honestly, this journey for me has been harder than it's been as an athlete.
Mm,
It's been more difficult. It's been more lonely, but it's been more rewarding and it's been more fulfilling. And I think what's really hard, I think another thing that's really hard when you get done being an athlete is you are not 6 anymore. You're not 8. Your parents want to support you. Your coaches want to support you. Everybody wants to support you to help you get there. When you're older, everybody looks at you and assumes that you should have it all figured out. And why don't you have a job yet? And why aren't you married yet? And why don't you have kids yet? And um, you lose the support system that you had when you're coming up the first time. And in order to be successful, you need to have at least one person around you that believes in you.
mm.
And um, it's tough to be lonely. It's way lonelier as a former athlete. I think that that's what also makes it hard. And you're not young and curious and like open minded and don't care what anybody thinks about you. You know what I mean? You have so much people looking at you because you've already built a platform, and now um, it's like it's like everybody's judging you what you're doing, and they're watching you go through such an ugly phase at the beginning, and they're talking shit, and they're like, "What's he trying to do this for?" Like, I remember when I first started speaking, I started speaking on TikTok. And my TikTok videos weren't that good, but I would go to the office at Alabama and people would like see my videos because they pop on their page and they'd be talking shit about them and stuff. And it was like, you just have to go through that ugly phase. And you had to do it when you were younger, but you had more people and you were like
That's
more, you know what I
good.
mean?
That's
You were
good,
more
bro.
like, I don't even know the word for it, but you were just innocent. You didn't really
Mhm.
care. Like, whatever, I'm a kid. But it's when you're older, it's different, man. You're like a grown man. Like people are looking at you like you should have the shit figured out, and it's like I can. Like if I care what other people think, I can just go get a job and get a house and get a white picket fence and get a
Yep.
golden retriever and get a wife and
Yep.
go down that path. But it's like I want to do something bigger, bro. Like that's what I want to do. Like that's what fires me up. That's what gets me up in the morning. And I can't just go be average. I can't. So
Man,
that's
bro.
me.
Man, bro, this was amazing. We could sit here and have this conversation for 3 hours. You know what I mean? But I might have to have you on again, bro. I might have to have you on again so we could dive in some more. But no, this was amazing, bro. I appreciate your time and sharing a little bit of that and your experience and what that was like. For people who want to get in touch with you and your story resonate with them, where can they find you?
Social media, Dom Johnson. Instead of the J, it's a one. So Dom one Onson. And then I got a new website, sparkcoaching.com without the G. So sparkcoachin.com.
Mhm.
So that's really it.
Perfect, bro.
So
Perfect.
your boy.
I have one more question. I have one more question. Is there anybody you think would be good to have on the podcast? Now, there's one caveat to that question. Whoever you say, you have to be willing to help us get them on the Retired Rookies podcast.
Mm, it's a good. That's that. I like this because you want to grow the community. Um, let's see. Do you want to find is it retired athletes that are like now successful after
Yeah,
sports, or is it
yeah,
just like current athletes that are going through the transition, or guys that are older that are pros, or
yeah. So former athletes that have successfully transitioned, but I would love to talk to a current athlete who is, anticipating the transition. And actually, let's just stick with former athletes right now because I will have a segment. I'll have a separate segment for the current athletes, going through the transition. So let's
okay.
stick with former athletes right now.
All right. Honestly, mm, I mean, the first person that comes to mind, like the first ever person I started working with, um, the first ever former athlete that I started working with when I started Spark, his name's Clank, and um, his name's Jack Clank. He came to football camp, and he former offensive lineman, and I started working with him. He was when I was talking about that I was working in sales, and then he transitioned to be a to getting into football coaching. He liked that a little bit more, but still felt that like drain. And then he started a coaching business, helping former athletes lose weight after sports. Former lineman, and he's doing very well. Like he's full time in his business as well, and he is an expert when it comes to losing weight after sports. Like he is like an expert. So and he's been through the full transition too. Like the whole like depression after sports and trying to find yourself, going through the awakening, and working jobs you don't like at first, and then finding your figuring out what your vision is, and then going all in on it, and having clients paying you, and like doing it full time. So he's kind of gone through that whole process. So he's the first person that comes to mind, but there's some other good ones for sure. Like Emily Esposito is another good one. She went to Villanova, played basketball, and she's doing a lot of nonprofit work. My girl Hannah Hall, who is in Hamilton, and she played in Buffalo. So like, there's definitely some good ones.
Hmm.
But first one that came to mind was Jack Plank. But I could probably
Okay.
hit all of them up. They're kind of all like I've stayed connected with all of them, you know.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
yeah, I'll send you some more if now you got me thinking. I'll start sending you some more too. I'm
Yeah.
sure they'll hop on the podcast.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, bro. And like I said, this has been amazing. This is the first episode, so uh honored to have you be my first guest. You allowed me to be do my first speaking engagement. So it was only right that I returned the favor, and we just continue to build off this relationship, bro. So I'm excited to continue to see what you do and support you any way I can as well. So
Let's go, brother. Like it's going to be a lifelong journey.
yeah,
So, and we're in it together. And if there's anything else I can help with too, I'm here. Let's run it. Um, for sure, brother. You got me. You
yes,
got me in
sir.
your corner. So I'm here. So I appreciate you
Appreciate
having me
you.
on. I hope it wasn't too long.
Nah, bro.
I was
It
moved.
was great. We're gonna have to have you on again too. So because I know you're gonna continue to do amazing things, and I want to continue to share your story as well. So we'll do this again for sure.
Let's do it, bro.
All right,
Let's do it.
brother. Appreciate you.
All right, bro. Have a good night.
Yep, you too.